Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1881 Cleveland Blues NL baseball season. Again, the Cleveland Blues were playing in the National League, the senior circuit. And again, they were playing at Kennard Street Park, which was played home games here in Cleveland. The 1881 Cleveland Blues finished in 7th place in the 8-team league. The record was 36-48. Winning percentage of .429, so kind of a tough year. 20 games behind the Chicago White Stockings, who were the first place team and champions of 1881. The Chicago White Stockings had a record of 56-28, very good. The second place team was the Providence Grays from Providence, Rhode Island. They were 47-37. In third place, the Buffalo Bisons, 45-38. So Buffalo had a MLB team back then. The Detroit Wolverines were in fourth place at 41-43. The Troy New York Trojans were 39-45. The Boston Red Caps were 36-48. Tough year for Boston. And then Cleveland was 36-48 in seventh place. And the eighth and last place team, the Worcester, Massachusetts Worcesters, were 32-50. Okay, so the regular lineup for the Blues, Cleveland Blues in 1881, we had a new catcher, John Clapp. Clapp hit .253. He had 12 doubles, 2 triples, and 25 RBIs. Clapp was from Ithaca, New York. He died in Ithaca in 1904 at age 53. His career average was .283, very good. He had 275 RBIs. He also was a manager, and his record as a manager was .174 and .273. Clapp played for the Middletown Mansfields, the Philadelphia Athletics, the St. Louis Brown Stockings, Indianapolis Blues, Buffalo Bisons, Cincinnati Stars, Cleveland Blues, and the New York Gothams between 1872 and 1883. He also was the manager of the Middletown Athletics, the Indianapolis Blues, the Buffalo Bisons, and the Cincinnati Stars, and Cleveland Blues in 1881. So he was the player-manager in 1881. He also managed the New York Gothams. So he was, much of his career was a player-manager. After a 4-7 start under Mike McGeary, who was the manager at the beginning of the year, Clapp replaced him, and the team went 32-41 the rest of the season. In 1878, Clapp tied on MLB games played, was tied with the record for ML games played, 63. And in 1881, he led the National League in walks with 35. They called him Honest John. He was 5'7". And in 1881, in May, Chicago bookmaker James S. Woodruff offered Clapp $5,000 to allow pass balls in a game. He reported it to the police, and then Woodruff was arrested. So that's why they called him Honest John. After his retirement as a player, he worked as the night sergeant in Ithaca. He died at midnight of apoplexy, or a stroke, John Clapp. Bill Phillips was back at first base. Phillips had a fine year, hit .272, 18 doubles, 10 triples, 1 home run, and 44 RBIs. Again, our star second baseman was Fred Dunlap. Dunlap had a tremendous year, hit .325, 25 doubles, 4 triples, 3 home runs, and 24 RBIs. Jack Glasscock was back at shortstop. Glasscock had a fine year, hit .257, 9 doubles, 5 triples, 0 home runs, and 33 RBIs. We had a new third baseman in 1881. George Bradley hit .249, 10 doubles, 1 triple, 2 home runs, and 18 RBIs. Bradley was a pitcher third baseman from Reading, Pennsylvania. He died in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1931 at age 79. Bradley's record as a pitcher was 171 wins, 151 losses, an ERA of 2.43, very good, and 671 strikeouts. Bradley played for the St. Louis Brown Stockings, the Chicago White Stockings, the Troy Trojans, Providence Grays, Detroit Wolverines, Cleveland Blues, Philadelphia Athletics, Cincinnati Outlaw Reds, and Baltimore Orioles between 1875 and 1888. He was the National League ERA leader in 1876. He pitched the first no-hitter in MLB history in 1876. They called him Gin. He was 5'10", 175 pounds. In 1876, his ERA as a pitcher was 1.23, really, really good. In 1883, in the American Association, he won a title with the Philadelphia Athletics. After he retired as a player, he was a police officer. And then he retired as a police officer in 1931, and 1 month later died. So that was kind of sad. Didn't have much of a retirement. George Bradley. Now, in the outfield, we had Orator Schaefer returned. Had a good year, hit .257, 13 doubles, 6 triples, 1 home run, and 34 RBIs. We had a new outfielder, Mike Moynihan, hit .230, 5 doubles, a triple, 0 home runs, 8 RBIs in 33 games. Moynihan was mostly a shortstop in his career. He was from Chicago, Illinois. He died in Chicago in 1899 at age 43. Tragic. His career average was a fine .294, scored 124 runs, played in 169 games. He played for the Buffalo Bisons, Cleveland Blues, Detroit Wolverines, Philadelphia Athletics, Cleveland Blues between 1880 and 1884. In 1883, with the Philadelphia Athletics in the American Association, he won a title with that team as their starting shortstop. Mike Moynihan. He hit .310 that year in the and then he played in the minors for the Milwaukee Brewers and the Utica Penthouse in 1884 and 1885. Mike Moynihan. Another new outfielder was Jack Remsen, who hit .174, 4 doubles, 3 triples, 0 home runs, and 13 RBIs. Remsen was a center fielder from Brooklyn, New York. His death details are not known. He hit .244 for his career, 8 home runs, 199 RBIs. He played for the Brooklyn Atlantics, the New York Mutuals, the Hartford Dark Blues, St. Louis Brown Stockings, Chicago White Stockings, Cleveland Blues, Philadelphia Quakers, and Brooklyn Atlantics between 1872 and 1884. Jack Remsen. Now the bench players, Doc Kennedy was back. He hit .313, 7 doubles, 1 triple, 0 home runs, 15 RBIs in 39 games. Billy Taylor was a new guy. He hit .243, 1 double, no home runs, 12 RBIs in 24 games. Taylor was a pitcher, outfielder, catcher from Washington, D.C. He died in Jacksonville, Florida in 1908, age 45. As a pitcher, his career record was 50-36 with an ERA of 3.17. As a hitter, his career average was .277. He played for the Worcester Ruby Legs, the Detroit Wolverines, Cleveland Blues, Pittsburgh Alleghenies, St. Louis Maroons, Philadelphia Athletics, and Baltimore Orioles between 1881 and 1887. They called him Bollocky Bill. He was 5'11", 204 pounds. In 1884, in the Union Association with the St. Louis Maroons, he was 25-4 as a pitcher with a 1.68 ERA. He led the league in saves and hit .366. Wow, what a year for Billy Taylor in 1884. Okay, Billy Taylor is now in 1881 with the Cleveland Blues. He pitched 1 game, had no decisions, and an ERA of 0.00 in 3 innings. Another bench player was Blondie Purcell. Purcell hit .175, 2 doubles, a triple, 0 home runs, 4 RBIs in 20 games. Purcell was from, his real name was William Aloysius. He was an outfielder from Paterson, New Jersey. He died in Trenton, New Jersey in 1912, age 57. Career average was .267. He had 1,217 hits, so he had a fine career. Scored 767 runs. Purcell played for the Syracuse Stars, Cincinnati Reds, Cincinnati Stars, Cleveland Blues, Buffalo Bisons, Philadelphia Quakers, Philadelphia Athletics, the Boston Beaneaters, and the Baltimore Orioles between 1879 and 1890. He was the manager of the Philadelphia Quakers in 1883, player manager. In his 12-year career, he played for 8 teams in 2 leagues, 1,097 games, mostly in the outfield, and he pitched in 79 games. For the 1882 Bisons, he was fined $10, which is equivalent to $254 today, because he sliced open a soggy baseball trying to compel the umpires to put in a new ball because his pitcher, Pud Galvin, threw a curveball, and the ball wasn't curving because the ball was too soggy. In 1883, with Philadelphia, he scored the first hit and scored the team first run in team history for what became the Philadelphia Phillies. Blondie Purcell, very good. Mike McGeary was back, hit 220, 0 home runs, 5 RBIs in 11 games. And again, he was the manager for the first 11 games, and the record was 4-7. Another bench player was Pop Smith. He was a new guy, hit 118, 0 home runs, 3 RBIs in 10 games. Smith's real name was Charles Maru, and he was a second baseman from Digby, Nova Scotia, Canada. He died in Boston, Massachusetts in 1927 at age 70. He had 941 career hits, 24 home runs, 358 RBIs, and he stole 169 bases. In 1890, he was the first player to bat 6 times in a game and have no official at-bats. He had 5 walks and a hit by the pitch. In 2005, Pop Smith was inducted in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. Very good. Herm Dozier was a new guy, hit 211, 0 home runs, 0 RBIs in 5 games. Dozier was a third baseman umpire from New York, New York. He died in Buffalo, New York in 1934 at age 81. His career average was 224, 0 home runs, 40 RBIs. He played for the Brooklyn Atlantics, the Washington Nationals, the Troy Trojans, Chicago White Stockings, and Cleveland Blues between 1872 and 1882. And as an umpire, he called 2 no-hitters. Herm Dozier. His son Jack was an MLB pitcher, and he's the first son to become an MLB player whose father was an MLB player. In 1877, he won a title in the minors with the London, Ontario, Canada Tecumsehs. And he said this about being an umpire, quote, "I've got to play ringmaster, papa and mama, and doctor in every game." As a scout, he discovered the Hall of Famer Wee Willie Keeler. He used to say, "Hit 'em where they ain't." Herm Dozier. Phil Powers was a new player, hit .067, 0 home runs, 0 RBIs in 5 games. Powers was a catcher from New York, New York. He died in New York City in 1914 at age 60. Career average was 180 in 155 games, and he had 42 RBIs. He played for the Chicago White Stockings, the Boston Red Caps, the Cleveland Blues, Cincinnati Red Stockings, and Baltimore Orioles between 1878 and 1885. He was mostly a backup catcher. Phil Powers. Rudy Kemmler was a new player, hit .000, 1 game, 3 at-bats, no hits. Kemmler was another catcher from Chicago, Illinois. He died in Chicago in 1909 at age 49. Died young. Career average was 195, 0 home runs, and 79 runs scored. Played for the Providence Grays, the Cleveland Blues, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, and the Pittsburgh Alleghenies, Columbus Buckeyes, St. Louis Browns, and Columbus Solons between 1879 and 1889. Kemmler was a poor hitter but a good defensive catcher. Very durable, reserve player. Caught 2 no-hitters in 1884. In Columbus, that was for playing for Columbus, and the pitchers were Ed Morris and Frank Mountain. The catchers wore no protection back then. No glove and no mask. He was buried in the Concordia Cemetery in Forest Park, Illinois. Rudy Kemmler. Very good. Now the pitching staff, we had 2 pitchers in 1881. Jim McCormick was the primary pitcher, and as a hitter, McCormick batted .256, 9 doubles, 4 triples, 0 home runs, and 26 RBIs. So McCormick could hit. And his record as a pitcher, well, he won 26 games, lost 30, an ERA of 2.45. Very good. So he wasn't getting much run support. He pitched in 58 games, made 57 starts. He had 58 starts, 57 complete games, 2 shutouts, and pitched in 526 innings. Back then, it was they said, well, you had to pitch a complete game to be manly. So the guys didn't want to come out of games. It was a matter of pride. They had a lot of complete games. And the second pitcher in 1881, they called him the only Nolan. His his average as a hitter, his average was 244, 5 doubles, a triple, 0 home runs, 18 RBIs, and as a pitcher, his record was 8-14 with an ERA of 3.05, 21 starts, and 20 complete games. His real name was Edward Sylvester, although they called him the Only Nolan. He was a pitcher from Canada. He died in Paterson, New Jersey in 1913 at age 55. His career record as a pitcher was 23-52 with a 2.90 ERA, 274 strikeouts. He played for the Indianapolis Blues, the Cleveland Blues, Pittsburgh Alleghenies, Wilmington, New Jersey Quicksteps, and Philadelphia Quakers between 1878 and 1885. He's a pitcher, outfielder, third baseman. His parents were immigrants from Ireland. He was expelled from the 1878 Indianapolis Blues because he said he went to a funeral and went drinking and missed a game. Nolan, John Clapp, and Jim McCormick missed the September 20th game in Worcester. They were teammates in the September 20th game in 1881 in Worcester, Massachusetts. They took a side trip to New York City. There was a train wreck, and they missed a game. They were fined $100. The Only Nolan actually was blacklisted in the National League at one point for confirmed dissipation and general insubordination. Now, the origins of his nickname, The Only Nolan, there are two ideas. One is first is that he was the only Nolan to play in Major League Baseball, and the other is there was a guy named Francis Leon who was a minstrel burlesque performer. He wore a black face and went in drag and was wildly successful. Then there was an imitator, and then this Francis Leon called himself The Only Leon. So then people supposedly said, well, they started calling this guy, our pitcher, The Only Nolan. So now in 1881, in March, our country inaugurated the third president from Ohio, third consecutive president from Ohio. Now, backing up, Ulysses S. Grant had been elected in 1868 and reelected in 1872, and Grant was from Point Pleasant, Ohio, 25 miles southeast of Cincinnati. In 1876, he was succeeded by Rutherford B. Hayes, who was born in Delaware, Ohio, grew up there, and retired in Fremont, Ohio, not far from Sandusky, Ohio. And then in 1880, James A. Garfield from Cleveland was elected U.S. president, 20th president, and in March of 1881, he was inaugurated. So folks in Cleveland were awful proud and happy. A local guy had become president. Garfield grew up without a father, a very poor family. A real good guy, worked hard, had good character, very dedicated to self-education, and he was a Civil War hero. So folks were very happy and proud in Cleveland that a local guy became president. Very tragically, on July 2nd, Garfield was shot in Washington City in 1881 by Charles Guiteau. And he died September 19th, 1881 in Elberon, New Jersey. So for most of the summer, there was like a death watch, and folks were hoping he would recover. This was tragic. Near the end of the baseball season, the president from Cleveland died, James A. Garfield. So that was sad. And he was buried in he's buried in Lakeview Cemetery. There's a big memorial for him if you want to visit that in Cleveland, east side of Cleveland. So the 1881 Blues, yeah, they had a kind of a tough year, but anyway, they were our team, and we rooted for them. God bless everyone associated with the 1881 Blues, especially, including the fans, especially the Civil War veterans. Now, it had been 16 years since the war ended. These guys were getting a little bit older. They were in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. So, captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp statue, Tribe, Browns, and Cavs rule, Cleveland, City of Champions. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you, take care, and I'll see you next time.